So I want to welcome everybody to this live stream. We're really excited about this event at the Thompson Center, and I think this deals with obviously a very pressing topic in education. So before we begin, I want to briefly introduce the Thompson Center for those who may be unfamiliar. The Thompson Center was founded to follow in the footsteps of Governor Tommy G. Thompson, who proudly worked with colleagues on both sides of the aisle to advance the public good. To carry on Governor Thompson's legacy, the Thompson Center engages in public events like this one, sponsors scholarships, research grants, and conducts other activities across the University of Wisconsin system. We also live stream as many of our events as possible, so even if you're not here in Wisconsin, I hope you'll join us for more events. Now, let me begin by asking you, Kathleen, well, first by welcoming everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for everybody at the NCTR for working with us on this, as well as Ruth and Mary Cade at the Thompson Center. So, Kathleen, the NCTR has been around since 2007. Can you tell us what the NCTR does?
Partners with school districts, charter schools, nonprofit organizations, institutions of higher education, and state agencies across the country to build, launch, scale, and strengthen teacher residency programs that prepare educators who reflect the communities they serve. On the screen, you have a chance to see our mission and vision. And at NCTR, it is vitally important to all of us that students of color and students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds are taught by diverse, well-prepared educators. And so, as you mentioned, we've been in existence since 2007. So over the last 16 years, we've been the only organization dedicated to developing, launching, and supporting teacher residencies that are center equity at its mission and are community driven, which means they're focused on the local context and evidence-based. So we're really proud of the impact teacher residencies are making to not only address the teaching shortage, but also ensure that children are getting a quality education. So in the middle of the screen, I just want to point towards the image that you see. And in 2012, TNTP issued a report where they found that low-performing schools tend to have to go through roughly 11 replacements in order to find a highly effective candidate. And so that means that if a school has a high teacher turnover rate that's deemed low-performing, it could be more difficult to change the academic results that are being produced at that school because you have to find so many different individuals before you would end up with an effective teacher. And the reason why this matters is because teacher residencies are producing individuals that are staying in classrooms for a longer period of time and come from the communities. So at the bottom of the screen, I always like to highlight these two really important key data points. The first is that 96% of principals have reported that just hosting an NCTR partner residency program positively impacts student learning and the achievement in their school. So not only are we finding that residencies are helping to produce new teachers that are more diverse, but they're also helping to actually impact the school while the individual is still learning to become a teacher alongside that mentor. And then secondly, graduates of the residency partner programs are also positively impacting school cultures. And you have a chance to see that 98% of principals have reported this fact. So again, we're really excited about the perception data that we're getting from principals. And we've been collecting this data every year since we started over 16 years ago now. So if I show you some more information that we have been collecting and watching emerge over the last couple of years, we're really excited to share some promising trends. The first aspect, I'll kind of take you through steps 1, 2, and 3, is that we have found last year with our annual report from 2022, 2023, there was an 86% retention rate for NCTR graduates after their third year of teaching. Anyone who has studied teacher preparation and the field of education knows that that is a really substantial number at the retention level. Typically, we are right around 50% with other pathways. So we're showing that not only are individuals graduating, but they're staying in classrooms, which again helps districts retain those teachers and addresses the teaching shortage. Secondly, we're seeing that graduates from teacher residency programs that NCTR works with are serving communities of color, and 83% of the graduates last year were hired at Title I schools. But we're also finding that teacher residencies aren't just impacting the resident themselves. They're also impacting the host teacher, who we call a mentor teacher. And 96% of mentors said that they feel like they are more effective as a teacher, and principals agree. And so not only are we seeing a positive impact on the resident themselves, but we're also seeing a positive impact on that mentor teacher because they're going through additional professional development, they're able to get leadership opportunities, and they're able to kind of see how to improve their own practice as they're reflecting on the decisions that they're making on a day-to-day basis. So when we think about NCTR and who we serve and what we do, we really break it down into 6 main areas. Starting at the top, we consult with districts, charters, nonprofits, and educator preparation programs to help design new teacher residency programs. One of the aspects that we've created and we continue to refine annually is a partnership and program diagnostic. This helps potential partners as well as existing ones evaluate where they are with their readiness, if they want to create a teacher residency and or if they'd like to expand. So we have a set of levers that we measure against, and it helps people start to understand what they need to either improve on or areas to strengthen in order to ensure you have a really high quality teacher residency program. In addition to just helping to build new teacher residencies, we have what we call NCTR's network. And that is a community of practice for our existing teacher residency programs that exist across the country. And the community of practice really focuses on improving quality, scaling their impact, and being able to sustain so they are here not just today, but in future years as well. All of our consulting is embedded with research and evaluation because we think it's important to make sure that we are capturing the implementation data, one, to improve ourselves at NCTR, but also share back with our partner programs to continue to build and strengthen teacher residencies across the country. And anyone who's ever heard of a teacher residency knows the number one question we're usually asked is, where does the funding come from? So, of course, we talk a lot and at great length about financial sustainability. It is important to us to make sure we are building teacher preparation programs who are not just here today, but will be here in 5 to 10 to 20 years and beyond, because we are seeing such an incredible return on investment. And lastly, we work with our state and federal policymakers because we recognize that we need to advance the teacher residency movement, but we also have to analyze, interrogate, and revise some of the existing rules and regulations for teacher preparation because they are directly impacting how we prepare teachers.
So Kathleen, I know the NCTR uses a specific model of teacher residency programs. Can you share with us what that model entails?
Sure, I would be happy to. So at NCTR, we have four main components of our residency model, starting with our Partnership Institute. And what we do is we work with a design team, which is usually a group of representatives from the district or charter school or nonprofit and university, and we bring them together through kind of a complex design thinking and systems change approach. And the first part that we have to start with is how to establish a deep relationship where each entity is working together and understands what they own, as well as what they each share as roles and responsibilities inside the teacher residency. It's not business as usual. So it's really starting to identify where those gaps may have occurred in other partnerships through other teacher preparation pathways, and instead overcoming it and starting from the beginning of what is the vision of an effective teacher, and then how do we backwards map that into preparing educators. Secondly, we focus on what we call strategic recruitment and selection, because gone are the days, like myself, when I was interested as an undergrad student in becoming an elementary ed teacher. And I went to the university, to the School of Ed, and inquired about it. Now we have to be a little bit more nimble. We recognize that we've been missing various communities, and we need to make sure we're reaching out to communities. Want to make sure that all of our residents understand the theory behind the instructional practices and strategies that they are implementing. But we also need to make sure that they actually practice those in real life with children. And then lastly, we move into graduate and hiring support, because traditionally we would say, well, you're graduating from the program, we'll see you later, and we want to make sure you're doing well. That's not enough. We know the first 3 years of teaching are critical. So we want to make sure that we help districts and EPPs think about what does that handoff look like and how do we help support people.
All right, thank you. So it seems like you're really having an impressive impact here. Can you tell us more about that, about your impact?
Sure. So on the screen, you have a chance to see some data from our 2022-2023 annual report. And if I kind of orient everyone to the top line of all blue squares right in the middle, it shows that we worked with 26 different states last year. And if you go to the left-hand side, you'll see that we had 47 existing teacher residencies inside our network and 22 programs that we worked with to establish new teacher residencies across this country. If I orient you to the middle and those orange squares on the screen, this is where I really want to highlight what stood out to me when I looked at the data last year and was really excited. When we looked at the demographic data of teacher residents and NCTR partner programs, we found that 69% of residents identified as people of color. I'm going to tell you, I have never heard in my 20 plus years in education of a statistic like that. And I'm really proud of it because it shows that we are reflecting the communities across the United States. Traditionally, we have roughly hovered right around 21% teachers of color in the nation. So we're starting to really see how teacher residencies are lowering the barrier to become an educator. And we're pushing against those myths of communities of color not necessarily wanting to become educators. That's not true, and we're proving it. And then if we look at the other orange square, not only are we seeing that our residents are becoming more diverse, but we're also seeing those mentor teachers who host them are also more diverse. So last year, 49% of mentored teachers identified as individuals of color. And the reason why you're seeing a huge percentage of mentor teachers identifying as individuals of color is because now we've had enough residencies that have been in existence where individuals have graduated from the program and then honed their craft over the first couple of years and are coming back to give to their program. So these are people who know what it feels like to be that resident and now are saying, and here's how I'm going to help advance you and help prepare you just like someone did for me. And it's part of what I love about the education profession and how we support one another. And at the bottom in the middle, I just really would like to highlight that we estimate that our network graduates from our partner programs have taught over 500,000 children in the United States. And I think that's a pretty amazing feat. And then just show you one other statistic. You probably can tell, Alex, I enjoy looking at data. And so over the last decade, and this isn't news to anyone who's listening to this live stream, we know that the enrollment in teacher preparation has slowly declined. However, we have watched residencies buck that trend. Now, the good news is we're starting to think the entire trend is turning around, but residencies never saw that dip in the first place. Instead, if you look at our chart, and this is NCTR specific data, you'll see back in 2018 when we were seeing a decline nationally in the enrollment of teacher preparation programs, we were working with 15 states and we had 24 programs in our network. Then I can fast forward to last year where we went from 15 to 26 states that we were working with, and from 24 programs in our network, that means existing teacher residencies, to 46. So you see that it almost doubled within that amount of time. We continue to see districts, charters, and institutions of higher education from all different shapes and sizes who are interested in creating teacher residencies because they're seeing what works. And I cannot wait for you to hear more from my colleague Kalani to tell you about the great work she is doing with a number of our staff and our partner programs.
Thank you, Kathleen, and that seems really impressive. The focus on teachers of color really fills a need we see in schools, school districts, where there just aren't teachers of color. Kehlani, you are NCTR's director of something called the Black Education Initiative. Can you tell us more about that?
Today, NCTR's Black Educators Initiative was launched in 2019, and it was a targeted response to a pressing challenge of underrepresentation of Black teachers in our schools. Black students who have just one Black teacher during elementary school are more likely to graduate from high school and consider going to college, yet just 6% of public school teachers are Black. And research has consistently shown the positive impact of educators of color on student outcomes, especially for students of color. And so our BEI is designed to recruit, prepare, and retain Black teachers through our network of teacher residency programs. We piloted the BEI after receiving a 5-year, $20 million grant from Balmer Group to recruit, prepare, and retain 750 Black educators through our national network of teacher residency programs, the ones that Kathleen just mentioned. And so this funding allows NCTR to invest in teacher residency programs in our network that are redesigning their teacher preparation practices with technical assistance from us to serve the needs of Black educators. Next slide, please. And as Kathleen showed us earlier, teacher residency programs in NCTR's network overwhelmingly serve candidates of color, and our approach involves several key strategies. First, we invest in homegrown recruitment pipelines that reflect the diverse communities predominantly served by Title I schools. And this helps ensure that aspiring Black educators have a direct connection to the schools and students that they serve. Secondly, we recognize that the cost of teacher preparation can be a significant barrier for aspiring educators, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. So to address this challenge, BEI invests in making teacher preparation financially accessible for Black educators. By offering stipends, scholarships, and financial support, BEI works to ensure that our residents don't face those insurmountable financial burdens while pursuing their teaching career. And furthermore, our residency model focuses on rigorous clinical preparation and coaching from mentor teachers, as well as culturally and linguistically sustaining practices. Our residency programs play a pivotal role in creating a supportive and inclusive environment for educators of color. And these programs design and support equity-focused instruction, ensuring that coursework and classroom experiences are centered around issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So let's talk about the problem. There are far more students of color than teachers of color. As a matter of fact, 52% of students identify as people of color, whereas 80% of our teacher workforce is white. So why is this a problem? Despite already being underrepresented, teachers of color are leaving the profession at a higher rate than their white colleagues. A recent NEA poll showed that 52% teachers of color see teaching as a career, compared to 86% nationally. So data shows that teachers of color contribute to increased graduation rates and college enrollment among Black and Latinx students. Black students who have had one Black teacher were 13% more likely to enroll in college. Black students who have two Black teachers are 32% more likely to enroll in college. Not only do teachers of color benefit students of color, they benefit all students and other teachers. Teachers can educate students to become more culturally aware, decrease implicit bias, and prepare to live in a multicultural society. And teachers of color benefit from having other teachers of color around them, which increases their sense of belonging and ultimately their retention. So I'll do a deeper dive in a moment, but as you can see from this slide, BEI is making a statistically significant difference for Black teacher residents. 60% of our partners are network grantees, and we are on track to surpass our 5-year goal of 750 Black residents. And as you can see at the bottom, and we'll talk about this more, financial benefits such as emergency funds were critical to attracting and retaining Black residents.
So I understand you've been able to document the impact of this initiative. Can you tell us more about some of the what we know about the results of the BEI, specifically what works well when it comes to recruiting and preparing Black teachers?
Absolutely. So NCTR partnered with the Center for Public Research and Leadership, CPRL, at Columbia University to conduct research on the early impact of BEI. And the question at the heart of this study, what are promising strategies for recruiting, supporting, and retaining Black educators? So to conduct its evaluation, CPRL examined data from our BEI-supported teacher residency programs, such as enrollment and demographics, as well as data from 16 focus groups of Black teacher residents receiving direct support from our BEI. And they also conducted 23 interviews with program staff and stakeholders at BEI programs to identify leading indicators of effectiveness. And so what did they find? We can go back just one slide, please. BEI is making an impact. So being an original BEI grantee since its launch in 2019 is associated with a 16% higher share of Black residents compared with non-BEI teacher residency programs. Additionally, about 14 additional BEI graduates on average were hired in Title I schools, and about 24 additional graduates were hired in partner districts after BEI was implemented. BEI graduates at BEI programs, thus, are more likely to be hired in partner districts and Title I schools than before BEI, demonstrating their commitment to their community and the effectiveness of this initiative for placing Black teachers in high-need schools. BEI is also improving graduate and hiring rates to a significant degree and has increased the number of Black graduates for residency to an average of about 21 Black teachers per program. BEI has also had a large and significant impact on the hiring rates of Black residents. And so we'll talk more about recruitment now. And so BEI's impact on recruitment, the evaluation found that funding from BEI positively impacted the recruitment of Black teacher residents. BEI-supported programs are consistently successful at attracting both larger numbers and proportions of Black teacher residents, which is indicating that BEI is effectively recruiting Black teachers into the workforce. Providing direct financial support, money matters, to Black residents is a key strategy for recruiting and retaining them. For every $10,000 increase in resident stipends, programs achieve a 4 percentage point increase in the share of Black residents, which is a large effect. Residents themselves cited the financial benefits as critical to attracting them into residency. And they said that more Black candidates would apply if they knew the financial benefits. And because of the BEI funds, residency directors were able to expand their recruitment efforts to attract Black candidates and explicitly mentioned deeper partnerships and recruiting at HBCUs and partner schools in the local communities as key to their recruitment strategies. Furthermore, directors attributed the recruitment bump to individualized support and culturally responsive recruitment efforts by developing one-on-one relationships with candidates and providing consistent support throughout the application process. Some other positive associations, and I'll go through these quickly. Emergency funds, as we mentioned, were very important, providing training costs and stipends for Black mentors. Test preparation support for licensure is huge, and also summer programs to recruit Black teachers. As an example, one of our network members launched a summer jumpstart program, which covers the cost of books, tuition, and supplies, which allowed residents to get a jump on coursework and allowed for more breathing room during their clinical experience because they didn't have quite as many coursework hours throughout the actual school year. And as you can see from this quote, providing financial support can mitigate some of that mental trauma that teacher prep candidates may experience. I remember being a college student and $250 might as well have been $1 million. And so being able to provide this support for our teacher residents is really critical in order to allow them to be able to focus more on the task at hand and the work that they're trying to do. So BEI's impact on preparation. Black graduates and teacher residents of BEI programs noted that what was effective in terms of their preparation to be a teacher were culturally inclusive practices and opportunities to reflect on their race and identity. In particular, these practices were embedded into their preparation experiences. It wasn't an add-on. And residents and graduates also reported that they were motivated to work with and in a particular community and teach Black children. Something else that was noted as crucial was supportive mentors. And having supportive, responsive mentors was viewed as a key factor in the effectiveness of residents' preparation. They also noted that having an inclusive and affirming residency climate was extremely valuable to their preparation, especially as Black teachers. Teacher preparation is difficult, and having a community that you can lean on really enhanced their preparation experience. And as you can see here, when we were talking about the mentor piece, Max, a teacher resident, said it helped to have someone that looked like him, but also that was mentoring him. So it was very empowering for him to see someone that had a shared experience with him and that was able to guide him in this work. And so BEI's impact on retention. BEI is improving graduation and hiring rates to a significant degree. It's increased the number of Black graduates per residency, as I mentioned, to an average of about 21 Black teachers per program, and has a large and significant impact on the hiring rates of Black residents. And Black graduates at BEI programs are more likely to be hired in partner districts and Title I schools. Residents and graduates attributed this success to affinity groups, the diversity of their program staff, leadership, and other residents, and the financial support, especially for those tests. Financial support is a prerequisite for entry and retention in teacher preparation programs, but that holistic support is also key. And so some critical retention practices include helping residents secure teaching jobs as they near graduation and continuing to offer support throughout their first years working as teachers. And you can see, again, this quote, it came back to financial support. I'm a first generation and only child in my family who is educated. If I didn't have financial support, I'd still be a TA and now start on my doctorate.
So it seems like we've really learned a lot here. What can the larger teacher preparation community take from these lessons, given that while the residency model has grown in use, there's still not as many residencies as there are more traditional preparation programs?
Sure. So the first one, and I always ring this bell, financial support is essential. Lowering financial barriers is identified as a critical factor in recruiting Black educators. And I think there's an opportunity to explore strategies that make teacher preparation more financially accessible, potentially through stipends, scholarships, or other financial assistance programs. Secondly, those holistic recruitment approaches. So understanding that Black candidates are attracted to teacher residencies, and of course, they're not all a monolith, but there are some themes that emerged. Attracted to teacher residencies due to shared demographics with recruiters, the social justice orientation of the residency program, a commitment to community and financial support, and the broader community that could explore more holistic recruitment approaches. And so thinking about aligning the program values for teacher preparation with community, promoting social justice, and engaging with candidates in culturally responsive ways. Something else to consider along with curriculum and coursework, socio-political context is key. Doing an intentional focus on social political context and curriculum and coursework is crucial. And so recognizing the importance of incorporating discussions around societal and political factors that affect education can prepare educators to be aware of the challenges and opportunities that influence education. Providing an inclusive and affirming climate. So creating an inclusive and affirming climate was deemed extremely valuable for the preparation of Black residents. And so this highlights the significance of fostering an environment that respects and acknowledges the lived experiences and perspectives of residents of colors. And in the case of the BEI, particularly Black residents. And then when we think about post-graduation, normalizing and explicitly naming discussions around race. The larger teacher preparation community could perhaps emphasize the importance of ongoing professional development that includes discussions on race, ensuring that our educators are equipped to navigate conversations around race and equity in educational settings. And so going back to understanding the socio-political context, I realize that may be difficult to navigate in certain areas of the country, but it is something that we found to be helpful. And then also assessing new teacher needs. Regularly assessing the needs of new teachers, helping them understand self-advocacy strategies, navigating those power dynamics, building allies within their schools, and assertive communication is crucial. And so continuing to prioritize continuous assessment and adaptation of support mechanisms to address the evolving needs of educators post-graduation are some things that I think could be lifted up to the broader teaching preparation community. So NCTR, BEI has transformed our work and our mission, and BEI's effective practices have been integrated into our network in RDA consulting that Kathleen mentioned earlier. So in our network of existing teacher residency, we provide research-based strategies to support candidates of color, which has informed our levers for equitable teacher residencies, our consulting, and our technical assistance. In our Residency Design Academy, which are for our new programs, we focus on reinforcing connections to the rigorous K-12 courses and increasing access to those critical supports that we know lead to higher recruitment, graduation, and retention rate. And there's also a focus on developing partnerships that create conditions for Black candidates to graduate and secure employment as teachers of record.
Great. So given all that you've learned, there must be lessons for policymakers from the BEI. What lessons are there for policymakers, and how can they take action to support more research-oriented strategies to recruit and prepare teachers of color?
Sure. So by the time we began writing the Doing Better paper, we knew that BEI was making an impact. We just went through a lot of that. And so we'd heard this anecdotally from our programs, and we had the CEPO research as evidence, and we wanted to take it a step further and provide actionable strategies that could impact policy. And so we focused on some of the most salient lessons that we learned and promising practices from BEI, and honed in on 6 policy recommendations and supporting action steps that are relevant for states, school districts, and teacher preparation programs. And although the lessons learned emerged from the work of teacher residency programs, we really feel that the recommendations and action steps in the paper are relevant for a broader set of stakeholders in the education system. We think that teacher preparation programs, school districts, and states all play a key role, and they must share responsibility for the recruitment and development of our nation's teachers. So the 6 recommendations: make teacher preparation financially accessible. And so thinking about how we could do that actionably, teacher preparation programs could explore scholarship options. They could offer non-loan based support and establish district partnerships. So maybe forming partnerships with school districts to provide direct financial support to teacher candidates, including stipends and flexible use funds for emergencies or support purposes. School districts could also consider investing district funds into teacher residencies to cultivate candidates who will contribute to the district's teaching workforce. This could include paying candidates for roles like instructional assistants while they gain practical experience alongside their teacher mentors. On a state level, they could allocate state funding. So providing state funding to develop and sustain teacher residency programs, which covers the cost of those clinical experiences. States like California, Mississippi, and New Mexico, they've all successfully allocated funding for teacher residency. Thinking about federal funds, so maybe using federal funds, such as those from the American Rescue Plan, to support paid student teaching and clinical experiences. And Colorado is an example of a state that has successfully employed this approach. And then also encouraging school districts to contribute financially to teacher residencies by creating legislation and providing funds. We do have several states that have allocated funds in their budgets for teacher residency programs. The second recommendation, prioritize recruitment strategies that focus on Black educators. And so teacher preparation programs can utilize those high-touch recruitment strategies, personalized recruitment strategies like direct calls to candidates, providing encouragement, offering assistance to meet those application deadlines, strengthening communication during that recruitment process, ensuring that candidates understand the orientation of the programs and the communities that they serve, integrating diverse perspectives into the recruitment cycle, leveraging their alumni, featuring Black educators, sharing their program and their teaching experiences, and also really dedicating resource to diversity recruitment if you can. So allocating funds and staff positions within those programs, specifically for recruiting candidates of color, and establishing partnerships, especially with school districts, which going with school districts, develop a grow your own strategy. I know that is something that is huge and continues to grow throughout the country. So collaborating with teacher preparation programs to create grow your own recruitment strategies that are focused on diversifying the workforce. And then also thinking about from an HR perspective, having a target for efforts on diversity. Build a pool of candidates from existing school and community members, such as paraprofessionals, parents, and local partner staff to better reflect the student body. Not only do they know the student body, they reflect the student body, they know the student body. And then states can also set those equity focused recruitment goals, fund and support teacher preparations at historically Black colleges and universities, as well as minority serving institutions, which currently award 40% of all education degrees to teachers of color. The third recommendation is ensuring that teacher preparation programs are culturally and linguistically sustaining for Black educators. And so teacher prep programs can promote equity in instruction and curriculum, prioritize diversity in faculty and staff, hire, invest in, train, and support faculty, staff, and instructors of color within their programs, design and implement courses and field experiences that prioritize equity and cultivate culturally and linguistically sustaining teachers, and also aligning their coursework with community realities. Something else that states can do, adopt residency definitions aligned with community needs, incentivize diversity in faculty and staff, and consider thinking about cultural competency for new educators. Minnesota has done something like this. They have potential requirement for educators to demonstrate cultural competency in their practice. And so the fourth recommendation, employing affinity groups, which I'm a big fan of as a standard component of the teacher education experience. So teacher prep programs can develop and fund affinity groups, ensuring that they're embedded into a partnership agreement with school districts and integrated into regular schedules and schoolwork. They have very busy schedules, and so making sure this isn't just something that they have to do and that it's added on, and something that really enhances their experience. And also being able to collaborate with partnerships and experts to design and implement high quality affinity groups that are responsive to participants' needs. School districts can allocate resources for these groups and also extend and deepen the impact of affinity groups that take place. States could also require and incentivize affinity groups and include affinity groups in their policies. The fifth recommendation, invest in and support mentors who cultivate prospective Black educators. We have a ton of recommendations around that one in particular. I'll choose a few, but teacher prep programs can prioritize quality mentoring partnerships, utilize high-performing mentor teachers from partnering school districts to serve as course instructors within their teacher preparation programs, making sure that the mentors are being professionally developed, provide opportunities for partnering school and district mentors to have learning opportunities that are offered by the teacher preparation program, establishing a shared framework for quality mentoring, and then recruit and select and pair mentors effectively. So I'm implementing a thorough process to make sure that teacher candidates and and their mentors are experienced and have a really positive experience throughout their year. School districts can provide that mentor professional development and then also review and revise their mentor practices over time. Something that states can do, fund stipends for mentors, allocate funds for stipends for mentors. New Mexico is doing something along those lines. Accredit high-performing mentor teachers. They could be considered teacher leaders within their state, and maybe there's a pathway that can be created there. So leveraging those teacher leadership systems, and then also ensuring that the mentoring experiences of teacher education and teacher residency candidates align with the mentoring approach and support provided to in-service candidates. Lastly, including the voices of Black educators in the development of teacher education policy. We talk a lot about designing for equity and making sure that those that are closest to the margins are the ones that are impacting this work and providing a voice to this work. And so teacher preparation programs can utilize candidate survey data. So maybe conduct an annual review and implement those necessary changes based on what they see in the data. School districts could have an advisory committee. And so establishing a diverse and representative committee that includes teacher education candidates as well as new teachers. And then states could require or incentivize a committee convening and include Black educators in policy making. So making sure that you're including the voices of educators in state level teacher preparation policy making, involving them at various levels at the state education agency, state boards of education, state educator standards boards, and with the state legislature. As you can see, these recommendations really underscore the critical importance of providing a holistic and collaborative approach to teacher preparation. So integrating equity-focused instruction, mentoring, affinity groups, and ongoing evaluation processes are essential for creating an inclusive and supportive environment for teacher candidates, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds.
All right. Thank you, Kehlani. Your work gives us so much rich information for the education preparation community and for policymakers. Kathleen, coming back to you, how can people learn more about NCTR?
Sure. So there's multiple ways that individuals can learn more about us. If you'd like to follow us on social media, on the screen, you have a chance to see our handles for Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, as well as coming to our website. So if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more about us, please visit our website at www.nctresidencies.org, or you can email NCTR's Chief of Growth, Jill Pittner. Her email is on the screen at jpittner@nctresidencies.org. We would love to hear from you. We're really excited about the work we're doing, and this is just the beginning.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you again, Kehlani, and the NCTR for the work you do and for sharing it with us today. I thought this was an incredibly interesting talk, and I'm sure much of all of our audience did too. I want to thank everybody in our audience for joining us today. This was a really enjoyable event. I hope you'll join us for more events, whether in person or live. And thank you, and please contact the NCTR for more information about their work if you're interested.